Number 8. Olivia Smith. On November the 14th of 2015, Olivia Smith, aged 18, killed her younger step-cousin, Abby Hebert, and later insisted that God made her do it. The girls had reportedly been good friends and used to do numerous activities together. Smith had slept over at Hebert's house in Georgia the night before, but an argument broke out between them the following morning after they reportedly smoked an illegal substance. The dispute began in the kitchen and turned physical, culminating with Smith grabbing a kitchen knife and stabbing Hebert. The wounded teen tried to run out of the house, but Smith caught up with her when she reached the front lawn, got on top of her, and stabbed her several more times. Neighbors called the police, who arrested Smith at the scene. Her family and attorneys insisted that a bad reaction to the substance had led to her murderous outburst and that Smith would have never committed such an act had she not been under the influence. Several psychiatric evaluations concluded that Smith was mentally sound and that the reaction to the substance had likely been the cause of the attack. The teen took a plea deal and her original felony murder charge was changed to voluntary manslaughter. In May of 2018, she was sentenced to 20 years in prison. Number 7. Briannas Earth. Briannas Earth, a 29-year-old Arizona woman, was drinking with her cousin, Peter McKenna Jr., aged 33, when an argument broke out that led to her attacking him with a hammer. On May the 4th of 2022, local police received a call after a fight was heard at Earth's residence. Upon their arrival, officers found McKenna deceased as a result of blunt force trauma. Earth told the police that she and McKenna had gotten into an argument about the woman's 6-year-old daughter, who was present during the violence that followed. Earth claimed that the details of the bludgeoning were blurry. According to the police report, McKenna also suffered several puncture wounds on his back from the claw of the hammer. Earth was arrested at the scene and charged with second-degree murder, tampering with evidence, and aggravated assault. She was released from jail not long after her arrest, when the attorney's office requested more information on the case from the police department. In the examination report, Earth claimed that McKenna had choked her and that she'd acted in self-defense. However, the police department reportedly planned to resubmit the original charges. Number 6. Ricky Hawk. 23-year-old rapper Ricky Hawk, also known as Silento, was arrested for killing his 34-year-old cousin Frederick Rooks on January the 21st of 2021. Hawk, well known for his 2015 hit single Watch Me, Whip, Nay Nay, fatally shot Rooks several times in the face and leg in the middle of a Georgia street before fleeing the scene. Police received the call about the shooting and found Rooks dead upon their arrival. Nearby surveillance video helped identify the suspect as Hawk, who was later arrested and charged with malice murder, felony murder, aggravated assault, and possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony. While a motive for the murder wasn't immediately disclosed, Hawk made a statement explaining that he'd always had mental health problems due to his upbringing and encouraged anyone who faced a similar struggle to seek professional help. Number 5. Jeremy Leister and Jacob Locke. While talking over a jail's monitored in-house phone system, Florida cousins Jeremy Leister and Jacob Locke, both in their 20s, planned to rob an elderly man in his Iowa home. Locke had been arrested on July the 11th of 2021 for an unrelated incident that involved stealing a vehicle, evading a traffic stop, and running over an officer's leg as he fled. He was arrested and had been in jail ever since the incident, but nevertheless plotted further criminal activity. Several phone calls between the 11th and 24th of July had been recorded between Locke and Leister as they communicated through the jail's phone. They were orchestrating a home invasion against an Iowa man that Locke had met during a work release program when he was an inmate at the Iowa Department of Corrections. 6 law enforcement agencies worked together to investigate the phone calls and ultimately obtained a search warrant for Leister's home on July the 31st. Leister and an unidentified man were taken into custody during the raid after police discovered the phone used to make the phone calls to Locke and over 10 grams of an unspecified illegal substance. Both cousins were charged with conspiracy to commit home invasion robbery, and Leister received an additional charge of unlawful possession of an illegal substance with intent to sell. Number 4. Ray Oliver and Corinthian Thompson. In 2021, cousins Ray Oliver and Corinthian Thompson, both 35, were linked to the murder of 21-year-old Addison Mudd. She was found dead in her mobile home in Florida with a gunshot wound on March the 28th. A police investigation revealed that Mudd was the victim of a deadly robbery carried out by Oliver and Thompson, but it was unclear whether she was specifically targeted or selected at random. Oliver had been arrested on the 1st of April on unrelated drug charges and was already serving 26 months in prison when police connected him to the murder. In addition to his existing sentence, he faced armed robbery and first-degree murder charges. 6 months later, on October the 1st, the police tracked down Thompson and arrested him on the same charges as his cousins. Number 3. Richard and Jasmine Dextator. 70-year-old Giuseppe Joe Caputo was found dead in his Niagara Falls home on June the 19th of 2015 with 18 knife injuries on his body. A stab wound to his chest had been inflicted with such force that it split the bone in 2 pieces, causing his death. An investigation found that Caputo was 38-year-old Jasmine Dextator's former friend and drug dealer. She, along with her cousin Richard, were arrested after evidence was found linking them to the crime scene. During her trial, Jasmine testified that Caputo had drugged and assaulted her during their latest meeting. After telling her cousin about what had happened, the pair planned to confront Caputo. As part of their plan, Jasmine had called the man asking to meet up at a fast food restaurant near his home. The cousins arrived before he did, giving Jasmine a chance to get out of the car and wait for him as Richard watched on from a distance. Caputo and Jasmine rode together in the former's car back to his home while Richard followed them. Upon arriving at the victim's residence, there were conflicting stories as to how the male Dextator had gained access. The cousins insisted that Caputo himself had opened the door when Richard knocked and invited him in, while prosecutors argued that there was evidence to suggest that he waited on the patio for Jasmine to unlock the door for him. Richard claimed that an altercation then occurred between him and Caputo when the homeowner reached for a kitchen knife that he had to wrestle away from him. Richard maintained that he'd stabbed Caputo in self-defense. The cousin fled the scene shortly thereafter, and while they claimed not to have taken anything from Caputo's home, the man's identification card, insurance cards, vehicle ownership card, and cell phone were found in various locations on the roads of the Niagara region. In 2017, both cousins were found guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison with no possibility of parole for 25 years. However, in February of 2022, it was announced that they'd get a retrial due to a failure in the structure of their trial judge's instructions to the jury in 2017. Number 2. Denise Escobedo. Denise Escobedo, a 31-year-old deputy constable from Dallas, was arrested following the unlawful hiring of her cousin as a peace officer and the failure to report a shooting. Escobedo and 2 other officers were hired to work as security for a private party in September of 2019. When one of the officers was unable to make it last minute, Escobedo gave her cousin Ramiro Vielma the job, despite the fact that he wasn't a peace officer. In the early hours of September the 1st, Escobedo and Vielma were posted at the party entrance gate when the former stopped a truck carrying 4 people. The man behind the wheel, identified as Marco Faz, cooperated with Escobedo when she asked for his license to check his age. In spite of him being over 21 years old, the officer confiscated a case of beer from the truck before instructing Faz to leave. He protested and insisted to see Escobedo's badge, but she refused and threatened to write him a ticket if he didn't leave, so he decided to go. After Faz made a U-turn, Escobedo and Vielma tried to stop the vehicle again. The driver later recounted how he'd become concerned the duo weren't really members of law enforcement and opted to drive past them. That's when they took out their guns and shot at Faz's truck multiple times. One bullet hit the man in the right earlobe, another struck one of his passengers in the hand, and a third bullet hit a passenger in the shoulder. Faz rushed to the hospital where everyone was treated for their injuries, and they later reported the incident to the police. Investigators noted inconsistencies in Escobedo's story, and she was arrested on a felony charge of impersonating a public servant, misdemeanor counts of official oppression, and failure to report a felony resulting in serious bodily injury. Vielma was charged with impersonating a public servant, but like his cousin, was ultimately released after posting bond. Number 1. Rasheen Barnett. On July the 20th of 2022, Jamaican man Rasheen Barnett brutally murdered his 34-year-old cousin, Kamisha Wright, and her 4 children after he felt that she disrespected him. The woman ran a business out of her home that 31-year-old Barnett occasionally helped at, but he'd reportedly become enraged by her attitude towards him in the days leading up to the murders. It allegedly involved her telling him to not serve a particular customer again, snatching money from his hands, and splashing water in his face. On the night of July the 20th, he attacked Wright with a knife and stabbed her before cutting her throat and targeting the rest of her family. The following day, another relative discovered their bodies and called the police. Barnett was arrested following an investigation, and sentencing was scheduled for September the 22nd of 2022. Despite the fact that the death penalty hadn't been applied in Jamaica for 30 years, prosecutors were seeking it for Barnett due to the brutal nature of his crimes. If the man was to receive capital punishment, his sentence could still possibly be reduced to life in prison if he spent over 5 years on death row. Thanks for watching. Who is the most criminal-minded family member you have in your family? Let us know in the comments section below.